Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And what I'm about to talk about is very, very critical for T-Mobile. So I pulled up an older article. I'll still leave a link to it in the description down below. But what I wanted to really point out on this title is additional coverage, right? The coverage piece is still the most important for T-Mobile. The mid-band story, that's cool. I get it. Capacity is very important. But the coverage piece is where T-Mobile will get the better perception. Now, here's what I was thinking about. Now, I know I haven't talked about Dish a lot because they really haven't gotten going. And again, to this day still, there are still more questions than answers. Regardless of what's being discussed, there are just not enough answers out there to the questions. But something very interesting that I want to point out from a perception perspective, T-Mobile is still chasing Verizon and AT&T on square miles of coverage. And they're adding additional coverage. But something that T-Mobile has to really pay attention to and look at is if Dish really gets going, right? They start growing, they start gaining customers. Dish is backed by a much larger AT&T network for at least 7 years, roaming uncapped natively on AT&T's network. So in a lot of areas where AT&T has coverage and T-Mobile doesn't, that's going to create a perception gap. The Dish customer, the average customer doesn't know what they're on. They just know that it works. So if they go to an area that Dish works and T-Mobile doesn't, that's going to create some perception issues for T-Mobile. And yes, Dish is not doing it natively. They're doing it on a native roaming network, but it's still going to work for that specific customer. So that customer-focused driven coverage piece that T-Mobile keeps discussing, they really need to chase that. And then they really need to natively grow outside of that footprint too. They need to grow quite the coverage quite significantly just to match AT&T, because Dish is going to be riding on that AT&T nationwide network. So I think that's very important and very critical for T-Mobile to look at, because if a Dish customer goes vacationing, they go into rural, they're going to have coverage. They're going to be backed by AT&T's network. And Dish will likely come in as the disruptor, so they're going to be cheaper. So Dish is going to be cheaper. They're going to have somewhat of a native network within the metro areas where they're deploying, and then outside of that, for the cheaper cost, they're going to be backed by AT&T on a nationwide scale. So T-Mobile coming in as a value player still, they did raise price, but they come in as a value player that people consider cheaper. They're going to have to watch out for Dish, because Dish is going to be backed by AT&T's nationwide network for at least the next 7 years on a native uncapped basis. So let me know what you think about that in the comment section down below. Just wanted to create some thoughts for you guys to look into, because the perception is that Verizon and AT&T have larger networks, right? Whether that be by your experience that you've been to an area that AT&T and Verizon worked and T-Mobile didn't, or you can look at crowdsourced maps, right? The perception is T-Mobile is not there yet, and that is by fact the case, right? But Dish potentially coming in as the fourth player, backed by AT&T, will have a very large network for at least 7 years until they build out natively. So make sure you guys stay tuned to the channel for more. Like, share, subscribe, follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.